Hey card fighters, what's up? I'm Mike and I'm going to be bringing you a fan favorite has returned to the game. Dragonic Overlord is back and he is sleeker than ever, restanding and doing all his restanding shenanigans that he's always done. And I'm going to take you through a deck profile I made of Dragonic Overlord for the Overdress format. Alright, so we're going to start with the ride line. We're going to have the Lizard Runner Unduix. Same as the old Dragonic Overlord, same as the old Kagero. You can play any Dragon Empire starter if you want. You could play the Egg or the one from Eugene, but I like to keep it with the theme, so I played him. Next, we're gonna have the Embodiment of Armor Bar, same as from the old days. He has a very interesting ability, actually, that when he is ridden by the Grade 2, the Dragon Knight Nehalem, he will, for the cost of a Counterblast 1, search your deck for any Grade 1 card, and you'll be able to add it to your hand. So that's really good, guys, because you could search any of the key combo pieces in the deck, which are mostly Grade 1s, or if, let's say, you already have them in your hand, you could search out a Perfect Guard, because the Perfect Guards are Grade 1. So being able to search out a Perfect Guard is really nice, and being able to search out combo pieces is really nice, too. And then, lastly, we have the Dragonic Overlord, which is where Dragon Knight Nehalem's effect activates, is that when he is ridden by a unit with Overlord in its name, you get to play him to the rearguard circle immediately from your soul. And then, for the cost of Soul Blasting 1, you will be able to give him and Dragonic Overlord an extra 5k, which is really cool. And one thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that Bar's effect is when your Vanguard's attack hits, he will gain 5k. So that's really cool. A lot of on-hit pressure. A lot of on-hit pressure. A lot of when you restand, being able to force your opponent to either take the hit or guard for decent numbers. Alright, so let's get into the main deck. The man of the hour himself, Dragonic Overlord, once again back into Vanguard. From basically no matter what era, you will see a Dragonic Overlord. Just like I'm sure in the future we will probably see a Blaster Blade. But this Dragonic Overlord, or this incarnation of him, is actually really cool because during the battle that he attacks a rearguard, specifically a rearguard, your opponent can now call cards from their hand to the Guardian Circle, which is really amazing. So you could get rid of pretty much any rearguard and your opponent can't block. So unless you could still use orders such as something like, let's say, Ghost Chase to block the attack. But that is very specific, guys. Like, imagine you're gonna have to use orders to defend. Not a lot of people are gonna do that, and more than likely the attack will hit. You will still get your 2 drive checks, and then the second part of the effect happens is that when this unit's attack hits, you get to counterblast 1 and discard a card, and you get to restand him, and he will have drive -1 for the end of the turn. So, since the first effect pretty much guarantees the hit, you're going to be more than likely restanding every time you attack a rearguard first, and then you can attack the Vanguard. Then we have the Penetrate Dragon Tribash. I really like this card, guys, because from what I've noticed, Overlord's numbers in terms of power, the deck doesn't really get to really crazy numbers or anything like that. But Tribash is a Grade 3 13k, obviously, that will let you put himself into the soul when your Vanguard attacks and your opponent has 2 or less rearguards out, and he will gain a crit. So it forces you to really think of when to use them, because let's say you're playing against a deck that relies a lot on counterblasts. Your opponent's going to want to take hits. But when you attack them with the Vanguard and you use this, you're guaranteeing they're going to want to take the hit because they know that you can counterblast start them. So you basically force them to take 2 damage at the very least, which helps a lot with the pressure, building up the pressure of the deck, because like I said, the numbers aren't exactly anything crazy. Very rarely do you get anything past like 30-something, 40-something K, or a lot of times it's probably going to be even a little below that, even with the Persona ride. So this helps a lot with the pressure. Alright guys, that's it for the grade 3s. Next we're going to have the grade 2s. We're going to play 4 Berserk Dragon. Once again, back in from V or just from Vanguard in general. It's good to see him again. This version of Berserk Dragon says that when this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Overlord in its name, he gains 5k. Then, if you can counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards and retire it. So, a lot of retiring, just like Kagero always does, which is really cool because being able to retire opponent key pieces in this format is really important. You have a lot of key pieces running around. Leonard, for Bruce. Unfortunately, he won't really do much against the Keter units because it has to be grade 2 or less. But it helps a lot. Retiring is really important. Then 3 of the Nahalem. Like I said, you Soul Blast 1. You give himself and Dragonic Overlord 5k, letting you build up that board so that you can get as much power as possible. And then the last grade 2 I play is 3 Burn Bright Pure Prayers. Guys, you're going to notice that with this hand, you don't really have a lot of defense because any units you have, you kind of want to throw them on the board so that you can apply pressure because the units aren't exactly anything out of this world, but the deck is still really fun and can hit really hard if you're not careful. So I like playing these for that extra defense. Next, for grade 1s, we're going to play 3 Embodiment of Armor Bar. Like I said, he's really good because he gains 5k on hit, and like I said, Dragonic Overlord, when he attacks a rearguard, more than likely is going to hit. So he'll basically be a 13k booster. And then we're going to play 4 Dragon Monk Gojo. Gojo is your main way of recurring your counterblast, because a lot of the cards in this deck are going to use counterblast, as Dragon Empire has pretty much always been for the most part for this format of Vanguard. And this says that when your Vanguard's attack hits, this unit, when the Vanguard's attack that this unit boosted hits, you retire him and you countercharge 1. So that lets you get another counterblast so that you can restand your Overlord, or so that you can use maybe even Tenchestead. Tenchestead is really important in this deck, guys, because you can not only search him, you can search any of these, but he's really important because you want as much power as possible because of the low numbers, and he will pretty much guarantee you your Persona ride. Because when he boosts and the attack hits, you counterblast 1 and retire him, and choose a card of the same. Search your deck for another of your Vanguard. So you will search out another Dragonic Overlord and Persona ride next turn, so that you can see those higher numbers that you so desperately need. And lastly, we play 4 of the PG. The PG, you play it in every deck. You want to live so that you can win. That is the name of the game, and it's really cool that you can search him with the Embodiment of Bar's effect when he is ridden upon by the grade 2. So that really helps. That really helps with the defense. Is very needed a lot of the time. Sometimes I find myself, depending on what deck I'm playing against, searching for the perfect guard, even if I already have one in my hand, so that I can try to survive, because your defense can whittle down pretty fast in this deck. Alright guys, that's it for the grade 1s. And we're going to lastly go into the triggers. My trigger lineup for this deck is a little different than for a lot of people, because I noticed that you really have small hands with this deck. So I'm trying to, and you have low numbers. So I play 4 crit. Then I play 4 of the new front trigger from the new set. Really amazing card. It helps give your front row 10k, which is actually the main reason I play it, because I want the extra numbers for my rear guards, because like I said, the rear guards don't get up to that much, so you want those extra numbers. Most people play it for the additional 5k you get when your opponent's at grade 3, for the shield, which is another valid reason to play it, don't get me wrong, but I just really like the extra 10k to the front row. So I play 4 of those. and 4 crits, 4 fronts. Then I play 3 draws. You want to have as many cards in your hand as possible. You're going to notice your hand size goes down pretty fast, and it's going to be really hard to guard when you have no hand, as crazy as that sounds. Then lastly, for heal and the Dragon Empire Overtrigger. I really love, everyone loves the Dragon Empire Overtrigger, lets you restand the Vanguard as the additional effect, but it's going to be really cool when you attack with Overlord to your opponent's rear guard. Hopefully you check the Overtrigger, you restand Overlord, and you attack with Overlord again to the Vanguard this time for the 100 million. If they don't, you get 2 extra drive checks, and if it hits, you get to counterblast 1, discard, and restand Overlord again. So you'll basically be getting 3 attacks with the Vanguard for what will basically be like 5 drive checks, if I'm not mistaken. And plus the discard card in your hand. Yeah, so 5 drive checks, which is really nuts. When you hit it on that first attack with Overlord, it's really crazy, so that you don't have to give up the drive -1 just yet. And basically force your opponent to perfect guard or bust. Alright guys, that is Dragonic Overlord for this format. Hopefully we'll be getting in future sets better Dragon Empire cards that will help support it, because I feel like the deck has a lot of potential. It is topping a lot, and depending on where you look, but I just feel it just doesn't provide the pressure that it needs to top consistently. So hopefully in future sets we'll be getting better support for Dragonic Overlord. Alright, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and keep it easy.